Well, let's cross live now to senior researcher at the International Institute for Counter-Terrorism at the Reichman University in Israel, Ely Karmon. Ely, thank you very much for finding the time to speak with us today on RT.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, Israel hasn't launched its widely expected ground offensive into Gaza. Its troops have been on the border for a number of days now. What sort of political and military considerations do you think that PM Netanyahu is weighing up?
First of all, I would like to inform your audience, because it was not explained, why this war. The Hamas barbaric attack killed in 24 hours, 1,400 people on our territory. They were slaughtered, they were decapitated, they were everybody killed in his rooms, they were burned. This is not a normal operation. What exactly the Hamas leadership expected? You know, 1,400 people, civilians, is the double of our soldiers killed in the Six-Day War. It's half of our soldiers killed in all the Yom Kippur War. It's 50% more than the 1,000 civilians killed during the Second Intifada, 5 years, with hundreds of suicide bombings in 24 hours. So you understand our position.
Indeed. Many are comparing it to the 9/11 incident in Israel's 9/11 in terms of the significance of this atrocity that was carried out on Israeli territory.
It's 15 times more than 9/11 from the point of view of our population. So you understand what we have to do with Hamas. We have to destroy not the movement, not the idea, the military organization. And it's not the first time, by the way, they did it. They did it for 4 or 5 times. All the time we destroy part of the infrastructure. Then they receive money from the European Union, from the Gulf countries, and even from the United Nations. They reconstructed, and then they were again destroyed. This is the cycle of violence that Hamas has imposed on their own population and on ourselves. Now, why not why the ground operation is not beginning? Because there are operational considerations, there are political considerations, because there is some attempt to liberate part of our hostages. By the way, we have 200 hostages, babies from six months to young girls of 20, 12, 40, 15 years old, which were, by the way, violated during the attack. And all people of 80, 85 years old. Now, there is a negotiation that Americans expect that the Qataris will intervene, and this perhaps will solve part of this problem of the hostages. The second is, indeed, we don't want to attack the population in the northern half of Gaza. We are expecting them to retreat to the southern part, and then we'll have to attack, because you must understand that all the infrastructure, or most of the infrastructure, is underground. There is there a network of thousands of hundreds of kilometers of underground tunnels, full of armaments and missiles and drones, which they accumulated during these years. Instead of building something for their own population, there is no, by the way, any possibility of defense for their people, only for the fighters. So we have to wait. Yes.
Yes, apologies for interrupting. There's certainly quite a lot to unpack there, Ely. There's a couple of points I'd like to pick you up on. First of all, briefly, how do you believe that Israel was caught so off guard by this huge assault that killed hundreds, over 1,000 people last weekend? There must be certainly questions being asked there.
Well, it's a huge failure. It's an intelligence strategic failure, and it is a tactical operational affair. But we begin now to understand more or less what happened. And I must say that the government of Israel hoped that by giving economic incentives to the Hamas, mainly Qatari money, every month $30 million, and then permitting 20,000 people from Gaza to work in Israel in order to improve the Gaza economy. They hope that this will keep quiet a bit the Hamas, and then we'll have to fight terrorist activity in the West Bank. It didn't work. I wrote about it, by the way, 10 years ago. It is not possible, because Hamas, it's exactly like that Daesh. If you want to look to what happened in Mosul, when the international coalition had to destroy the Islamic State, for 6-7 months. 6-7 months. The coalition, which included the Iraqi army, the American army, part of NATO, and on the eastern side, the Russian army, attacked the Islamic State and Mosul, the city of 2 million people. And you look to the photos of Mosul after these attacks. By the way, they included also pro-Iranian militias in Iran. So everybody was involved in this kind of urban warfare, which you cannot win if you don't destroy the enemy. And unfortunately, Hamas is very similar to Daesh.
Well, indeed, and you bring me on nicely to my next question, Ely. Obviously, Benjamin Netanyahu, he's promised to destroy Hamas both politically and militarily. He's not given too much detail about how exactly he plans to do that. But obviously, there are certain challenges in waging that sort of war. You mentioned the network of tunnels there, this sort of insurgent nature that Hamas would fight in. I mean, what's to stop them just dressing in civilian clothes and blending in with the refugees there that are being created? What sort of challenges do you think are faced, and how realistic is Netanyahu's goal to destroy Hamas militarily?
It's not only Netanyahu's. It's I think all the country and practically all the people is united. But you must understand, in my opinion, what would be the political, if you want, solution. Because we had this solution in 2014 after the ceasefire of protective edge operation, when the Egyptians, which were always involved in the mediation between Israel and the Palestinians, proposed that Palestinian Authority police will retake control of the Rafah and Kerem Shalom crossings, and then slowly retaking control of the police and security services inside Gaza Strip. And then this meant that the Palestinian Authority should return and control all the Palestinian Authority, because Gaza is part of the Palestinian Authority. And you must also remember that in 2007, the Hamas took the power by killing 200 people from the security services and police of Gaza, and they threw them from the highest rooftop in the building in Gaza, exactly like Daesh, which did it 10 years later. So I think this is the solution if the government wants a solution, because really Israel will not reoccupy Gaza. Nobody wants this terrain, like one of the observers, I don't know what she knows about Israel, but clearly we don't want to return to Gaza to stay and to control Gaza. We want to destroy the military infrastructure, to destroy the military and possibly the political leadership, and leave the Palestinian people together with the Palestinian Authority, together with Egypt, and together with the Gulf countries and the international community, United Nations, to send perhaps international force and try to bring the Strip to a possibility of reconstruction and modernization, but not of fighting every 3 years, Israel trying to kill our people.
Indeed. We'll have to wait and see how the situation plays out in the coming days and weeks. Ely Karmon, Senior Researcher at the International Institute for Counter-Terrorism at Reichman University in Israel. I'm afraid we've barely scratched the surface of the intricacies of this situation, but thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.